The ASEAN Agricultural Summit kicked off on October 1. Now on its second run, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Business Advisory Council Philippines aims to bring together stakeholders for the crafting of an integrated framework for agripreneurship. One of the highlights of the summit touched upon the discussion on active private sector engagement in addressing trade facilitation from quantity to quality as recommended to ASEAN economic ministers. Let's listen in.
I think it's very important for us in the Philippines because among the countries in ASEAN, the Philippines lags behind in our agri-sector. Comparing to Thailand, Thailand export something like $45 billion and they import about 15. So it's a ratio of 3 to 1. Likewise, Indonesia also is ahead of Philippines by the mere fact that they export almost about $30 billion and import 15 million. $50 billion. Malaysia and Vietnam, they are also big agri-exporters in the vicinity of $20 billion. They have a ratio of 1.5 is to 1, while the Philippines is the reversed. For every dollar of export, we import $2. So we have less agri revenue from export. Now, having said that, earlier it was mentioned that the agri sector must be presented to our young that it is a viable business, not only for them to get rich, but for them to help the country. In these days of digitalization, the confluence of big data, analytical, AI, and earlier mentioned by Dr. Robert Yap, IoT, the Internet of Things. These are tools for us to use in improving the productivity of our agri-sectors. Yes, many times we do talk about the lack of infrastructure in our country, the lack of irrigation, the lack of farm-to-market roads. But more importantly, we lack the technology. I came from Israel 2 weeks ago, together also with Mr. Joey Concepcion, when the President visited Israel. And there, we learned about what they call precision farming. Meaning to say, precision irrigation, precision fertilization. You know, water is one of the very costly commodity in Israel, and they recycle 90% of the water, while most countries, even the most advanced, recycle 20% of the water. So taking all of this into consideration, for ASEAN countries, there's a lot of improvement, even more so for the Philippines. And one of the aspects for ASEAN countries, the upside of it, is that our Asian neighbors are aging. Taiwan, Korea, Japan, and even China. They're now having more concern about where their next generation of farmers will be coming from. So this is really an opportunity for ASEAN countries. We have a young population base. We're very similar between the Philippines and Indonesia, where the age population is just 24, 25. So having said that, people who are in the agri-sector should be encouraged to invest more.
But today, I have an interesting aspect in agriculture to share with you. Allow me to share a scientific technique in upgrading productivity and reducing cost for tropical fruit farming. And I mean fruit, F-R-U-I-T. And this is part of the agriculture game. If you look at this first slide, I only have 5 slides, so I won't bother you with a lot of slides. Thailand is a world tropical fruit exporter, and last year we exported 42 billion baht. This is 20, actually this year, 2018, that we're going to be there. This is roughly about 70 billion pesos, up 15% from the previous year. The fruit plantation acreage for Thailand is about 128 million acres. We all know that chemicals, pesticides, insecticides are hazardous to farmers' health, consumers, and bad for the environment. What we call sterile insect technique, then it's going to be used. Next slide, let's see, there. Okay, whoops. Now, what we're doing is to use the sterile insect technique to manage fruit fly. This has proven effective in vast areas in Thailand, and research has been done by the Thailand Institute of Nuclear Technology, or TINT. As you know, the problems with fruit export, you have quarantine, pest contamination, pesticide residue. These problems will be eliminated. The way we do it is, we use radiation-induced sterile insect technique. What we want to do is simply to reduce the population of fruit flies. And at the end, we want to eradicate fruit flies, because fruit flies are detrimental to fruit crops, and we don't want them. The environment's going to be friendlier without hazardous chemicals.
Vietnam, 30, 40 years ago, as you may know that after the Vietnam War, we are a country, we also face a lot of problems, even in food security. You may know that, at that time, 30, 40 years ago, we just follow the kind of economy we call centrally planned economy. So at that time, we didn't have enough food to eat, even, we are starving. And the government was about to be collapsed. But at that time, our government and our people, we changed our policies. We changed from the centrally planned economy to the market-oriented economy. We came to the understanding that the agriculture, food is not only business, it's more than business, it's security, And at that time, we changed our policy. We adopted the policy we call contract farming, And also we issued the law on private sector, So as you may know that now, after 30, 40 years, we are now became very famous in agriculture. We are famous around the world with some few products, as you mentioned, coffee and rice and things like that. We are nowadays a second place in ASEAN in terms of exporting agricultural products, after maybe Thailand, right? Mr. Kundarin. And also in agriculture, we enjoy very high growth rate. We enjoy annual growth rate about 3 to 4% annually. And as you see that, policies is the key. Also private sector is the key. Also conception, is understanding is very important. Agriculture is not more than business. It's also security, social, environmental security in the country.
On its second run, the ASEAN Agricultural Summit took place last October 1. It brought together more than 50 top-notch global speakers. The ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurs Network, ASEAN Business Advisory Council or ASEAN-BAC, Philippines, together with Go Negosyo and the Department of Agriculture or DA Philippines, held the successful and biggest ASEAN Agriculture Summit at the SMX Convention Center in Manila, Pasay City. In the effort to make agriculture sector a sustainable growth driver and game changer in ASEAN, the ASEAN-BAC Philippines recognized outstanding agribusinesses entrepreneurs, and innovators who have shown exceptional feats in the agriculture sector in the first ever Agro Awards. Making it to the top of the line are Huaho Department Store in Brunei, Amru Rice Company Limited in Cambodia, Garuda Food in Indonesia, Burafa Agroforestry Company Limited in Laos, Kuala Lumpur Kepong Berhad in Malaysia, Myanmar Alba Group Company Limited in Myanmar, SL Agritech Corporation in the Philippines, Olam International Limited in Singapore, Swift Company Limited in Thailand, and Ita Rice Fragrant Rice Research Export Corporation in Vietnam. Bagging special awards are Jollibee Foods Corporation for the Inclusive Business Award, Fleet Cunologist Corporation for Financial Inclusivity Award, Cherry de Erit Atilano Young Agripreneur Award. Inspiring Cooperative Award is given to Soro Soro Ibaba Development Cooperative, and Groundbreaker Award that is given to SL Agritech Corporation.